What's up, everybody? Welcome to ComicBook Nation, the official podcast of comic book and the place that you all love to hang out every single Friday. Welcome. We got a ton to talk about, including some breaking stuff that hit this morning. And with me today, Kofi is out on a much-deserved vacay, so he will be back next week to fill you in on what he's been doing and get caught up on everything. But we have the amazing Janelle Wheeler here to help me out.
Yes, I'm here. I'm excited. Lots of trailers.
Lots of trailers. This was almost called summer trailers before, a certain Captain America hit and crashed everything. But hey, that's great. No, that's great. And of course, joining us here, as you can see, a special guest, Mr. Patrick Cavanaugh is here to talk some horror because there is a big horror movie in theaters that is creeping me out, but that is no surprise to anybody. What's up, Patrick?
How you doing? Now, how come Janelle got called the amazing Janelle and I just got called Mr.?
Because what I did was front load Janelle's, right? I did front load at the intro, and yours, I gave all this other context at the end. So I was just trying to equal the time. That's all. But if I had given you a proper front loaded intro, I would have said the stupendous Patrick Cavanaugh.
All right.
Does that work?
Take it. Yeah,
there it is. See?
Some people might condense from stupendous to some of those other syllables in there, just shorten it. But we'll wait.
Nah. Also, yes, as also mentioned in the chat, Janelle has a new baby, so she gets even more titles right up front. That's how it is.
I'll take it.
So yes, we are definitely going to be talking about Captain America here. So no worries. But first, we wanted to get into something that is in theaters. It's going to be in theaters. Is it now or very soon? Is because Longlegs is starting to build a ton of buzz here for I've seen a lot of hey, this is my favorite horror movie of the year. Hey, horror's back, that kind of thing. When you start to see that buzz, it does get even people like me who are a little adverse to the horror genre interested. I'm like, maybe I can stomach this. Maybe I can watch this. Also, the keyword Nicolas Cage will almost get me to watch anything. at least give it a shot. So Patrick, you had the chance to watch this and fully, review it for us here at Comic Book. Is it living up to that hype? Is that overselling it? What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. First of all, the marketing campaign has been fantastic. Just about keeping so much about it mysterious and just really capturing the vibe of the movie as opposed to giving specific plot points. So that's super exciting. And the fact that this is an indie movie, sure, you have Nicolas Cage in it, but it comes from Neon, who is not Universal or Warner Brothers or 20th Century Studios. This is an indie horror movie that's getting this huge push. The director, Oz Perkins, who's actually the son of Psycho star Anthony Perkins. He's just made a couple movies. He made movie called The Black Coat's Daughter, which I think is fantastic. He made a Netflix movie called I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. And then he made Gretel and Hansel, which came out right before the pandemic shut down movie theaters. So Oz Perkins is incredible at atmosphere and just building tension and just keeping you in the dark. And even if you don't know what's going on, you're just impressed by the visuals. So I think the marketing campaign is really, really leaning into vibes, if you will, of this movie. You get the sense from the trailer that it's what the story is, which is this is not spoiler. I'm gonna reserve spoilers until maybe next week, but it takes place in 1993. It's about Micah Monroe's character. She's an FBI agent who has kind of almost a sixth sense for finding serial killers and tracking them down. So her boss is we got to get you on this case of this guy Longlegs, who's been taking credit for murders for the past 20 years. But the weird thing is that all of the crimes look like they are murder suicides. So there's no physical evidence for Longlegs other than him sending these notes. So like the setting of the 90s, the female young FBI agent searching for a serial killer, huge Silence of the Lambs inspiration. The like cryptic letters that Longlegs is sending, the weird what is motivating all of these crimes, that's a lot like Zodiac and a lot like Seven. So like there's lots of influences of some of the best serial killer movies out there that are just remixed and reimagined in a lot of really interesting ways. So like I know some audiences are going to come into it and be like, oh, that's just like Silence of the Lambs. That's just like Seven. And that's kind of the point of it. The director has kind of said like he wants this movie to be sort of like a greatest hits of the horror genre. So like you get the best of serial killer sending cryptic codes, that type of stuff. You get weird satanic stuff. You get cult stuff. Like you get all the best of these you know, incredible masterpieces. But the thing that sets this movie apart definitely is like the tone and the vibes of it all, because he kind of said like he wants it to feel more like a nightmare that like you're trying to remember having than necessarily like a straightforward linear movie where the whole thing is like, oh, so that's who the killer is. Like that's not the important part. It's like just these weird feelings of just like I kind of described it as like Silence of the Lambs, but told through a surrealist filmmaker like David Lynch or Lars von Trier, where it's like everything is just kind of off. So to answer your question 10 minutes later, does it live up? I think the movie is really good. Like, even though I initially was like, yeah, that was good, that's not my favorite horror movie of the year. And now, you know, almost a week later, like I'm still thinking about it. So it's definitely sticking with me a lot longer. But the reason I want to mention like the characters and the script, it really does feel almost like a Twin Peaks type of dialogue, in the sense that like the characters don't talk like real people. Like everything is kind of like a heightened, almost campy type of feel. Like everything feels off. The main character feels really detached from other characters. So I totally see that some audiences are going to come into this just expecting like The Conjuring or Saw, like very literal, very straightforward experience. And when the characters are just talking kind of erratically or strangely, or there's like lots of very slow scenes, it's almost like another good example is like Ryan Gosling in Drive, where like everything is about mood and tone, and like the characters only speak if they have a reason to speak. So I know it's going to be a very divisive movie, because some people are going to say like, this is overhyped. The trailers were too good, and then the movies like made me laugh or whatever. But like, if you're on board with what this movie is selling, which you know in the first 5 minutes, then it's going to live up to the buzz around it for sure.
Oof, I think you just sold me. You sold you sold the hell out of me on that, because yeah, it doesn't even really feel, I mean, yes, it is, like you said, a horror movie, but I love all those movies that you referenced. And so if it's really kind of more into that, you know, creepy thriller, almost, you know, mystery thing, but the mystery isn't exactly, because that's the thing I was also worried about, of like, this isn't I say this in all reverence, by the way, I love like M. Night Shyamalan's stuff. I love twists. Like I'm a big fan of that, but this isn't really predicated on something like that. This is more about, you really know who's doing this stuff. It's just more about like the journey there and the interactions between like the person hunting them down and the person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like anyone who's seen trailers or knows anything about this movie is like, they kind of know like, well, it's called Longlegs. Nicolas Cage plays Longlegs. Like we know who the killer is. And even early on, it's like, you know he's getting away with this stuff, it does ultimately be this mystery of like, why is he doing it? How has he been able to get away with it for so long? So like there is still a narrative element. There's just not like an unmasking at the end of like, it is me. It's not like a Scream where the whole time you're like, who is the identity of the killer and why? It's no, we know it's because this guy is pretty messed up, you could say. And it's really good. It's been, I think, a great year for like indie horror movies. Like we've gotten up to this point, we've gotten Immaculate, which came from this Studio Neon. I saw the TV Glow, which came from A24. We got Love Lies Bleeding, which came from A24. Like we've got a lot of really great, ambitious horror movies out there that I know not all audiences will be into because they're niche and weird and bizarre and not conventional. But I think that's what makes them, that when they work, like I think Longlegs work, it's just that much more impressive than, say Saw 11. No slight to Saw 11, but just the fact that this is like so weird and so bizarre, and
right.
the most famous person in it you don't even recognize because he's covered in prosthetics. Like if you didn't know Nicolas Cage was in this movie, you would not look at the character and say, oh, that's Nicolas Cage underneath. So I'm just super excited that, this is getting such a huge, like you said, you're not necessarily like a huge horror fan, but you're seeing so many people say, this is my favorite horror movie of the year. The fact that it's like weird horror movie from guy who's made movies that only other weirdos know about, and it's being billed as like favorite horror movie of the year. I think it lives up to that. And, I know it's easily going to go down as like one of my top 5 of the year. And I saw it at a press screening, so there was only like 4 or 5 other people there with me. But I'm looking forward to, maybe even seeing this again this weekend to see how audiences react to it. Because even though there's some good jump scares, like just good startle scares, it's just overall from start to finish for an hour and 40 minutes, you're just kind of like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is so weird and gorgeous to look at. And I'm excited to check it out. I'm excited to see the people, if 1 in 10 people who see this say they love it and the other 9 say like, oh, it was overhyped, or I wasn't scared, this was silly and stupid. Like for those 1 in 10 people who get it, like we're all in a club of, yes, we're on the same page. We're going to be best friends. And let's watch let's watch Black Coat stuff. Let's watch all these other weirdo horror movies that this guy's made.
So number 1, I love that you started a club. I love starting clubs. I have lots of little clubs. I have lots of clubs of like 3 and 4 people. I just like starting little clubs that no one else joins. But Janelle, did this sell you? Because I know you're like me typically on like this kind of movie, but like I'm probably gonna try and see this. Did it sell you?
I mean, I'm not gonna go into like a theater. I would watch it streaming if I'm like around spooky season or something, but like scary movies are not the headspace I need to be in right now. Like even The Boys is like true. A very weird headspace for me to be in right now. I'm trying to keep it really light in my life at the moment. And RuPaul's Drag Race has been kind of at the forefront of my viewing, and now The Bachelorette. So
yeah, we're gonna get a Bachelorette later. That'll be a perfect balance for this, by the way, to lead off the show.
That is true though. To balance would be nice. But if I am going to a theater, like I'm saving my rare mom and dad's night out to go see like a Marvel film or a superhero film or something like that. But I mean, this looks cool.
Yeah, I'm like in 100%.
This is amazing. I mean, it looks amazing.
This is not like a crowd pleasing type of, like, this is not like a fun, let's go, again, like Scream is a good example. Like Scream is funny, but it's scary. And like, that's a fun time at the movies. This is not fun. This is, I will say, like,
It looks very artistically shot. Like, it looks beautiful. Like, it's pretty to look at. The shots are very artistic.
So
Yeah,
you're telling me there's no popcorn bucket for Longlegs? Is that what you're telling me? There's no special like legs sticking out of a popcorn bucket version here? Because like it's calling for it.
yeah, I don't know what the popcorn bucket would be for Longlegs, but I will say, just thinking about it, that like thinking of a fun horror movie is the fact that like Maxine is a more fun horror movie that's out in theaters right now. And also the fact that like that is another like indie horror movie that has just built buzz over these last few years because people discovered X and Pearl, and like Mia Goth has become, you know, an internet darling. So like if you're looking for something a little bit more fun, definitely go check out Maxine. The music, the look, the sound, the dialogue in Maxine is much more fun. And then Longlegs is more like the palate cleanser of like, I had too much fun this afternoon. Let me watch something that feels like a waking nightmare. Yeah, that's a real blast.
And if you're you know, looking for that sort of balance in that order, you can join Patrick's Club. It is recruiting. And it needs members. Yes.
There are dozens of us.
Dozens of us. Yes. Well, that you sold me, because I'm very intrigued by this, just because of those thriller aspects, and also despite my, you know, kind of like adverse nature to the genre, I love Silence of the Lambs. I love Seven. Like those things tend to captivate me, even if I have to go watch like Minions afterwards, right? To cleanse my palate. That's how my process works. But you know, of course, you can check out Patrick's full review on Comic Book. And man, thank you so much, buddy, for breaking this down. And you know, you sold one ticket, man. You sold mine. I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna reach out to Neon. I'm gonna get a percentage of that one ticket.
The royalty.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited that you know, this movie's getting such a huge push. I've been a fan of this director for a long time. Check out his other movies. They're streaming on Blackcoat's Daughters on Max right now. I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House is on Netflix. So like, go check out those movies and get a sense of what he's about. And then yell at me on Twitter about this was overhyped.
No, man. And then, of course, I'm expecting you to start the subscription on your thing to your club so that people can join. This is how we make money.
Then you are allowed to yell at me. If you yell at me, I'll block you. But if you hit that little button to subscribe to my X feed, then yeah, you can yell at me all you want.
Thank you so much, man. You know, all the best, man. We'll talk to you later. All right, so that is Longlegs, and I'm serious. I'm very excited for that. Like, there's all the things I like. Plus, we went on a whole Nicolas Cage tangent. I feel like a month ago or something, where we were talking about all the movies he's done, and like this is another thing here. I'm very excited for that. But this was actually a perfect segue that Janelle set up, because she said, "Oh, I want to go to the theater to see a Marvel film," and boom, what do we got this morning?
Rewarded. We got our Captain America Brave New World. Let's go trailer. I'm excited. Yeah, this is, I don't know. I have a lot to say, Matt. I want you to intro this because I don't know. I don't know how I feel yet. I really want to hear I want to hear your impression.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so yes, after it feels like some fake outs over the course of the week of like, is this coming? Is this not coming? We finally got the Captain America Brave New World trailer. It's not like the start of a new phase or anything, but it damn sure feels like it. It feels like kind of this first real step into this post Chapek era of MCU, even though this was partially made during that time. We've had a lot of, we've had some delays, revisions, things like that. So this feels kind of this first step into this next Marvel era. All about Sam Wilson, our boy, stepping into the Captain America role previously already, but this one really is kind of the first one to put the spotlight on him. This was as much a a Thunderbolt Ross trailer to me as much as it was Sam, because and also like Giancarlo Esposito's mystery character also got a bunch of shine in this trailer. The one thing I walk away with before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty specifics is that I've been looking for, after several promises made with like Secret Invasion and other things of, hey, we're going to recapture that Winter Soldier feel. Nothing has done that. Even Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't do that. Nothing has captured Captain America, Winter Soldier feel. But this trailer is a pretty good first impression of maybe we're there. Maybe we grab some of that vibe. It has that same vibe. It has, and even if you take Cap out of it, it has the political behind the scenes kind of, even though we're dealing with a Red Hulk, it still feels rather grounded throughout the action. And by the way, whoever designed the trailer of those the hits and the cuts, when it would like do that like thing, the way it would do that several times throughout, that was awesome. We watched this like 4 times in a row because Anissa just like is gonna watch the Captain America trailer multiple times every time a new one is released. So this is her baby, right? This is her baby. Even though Chris Evans is not in it, this is still her baby. So like we watched it a bunch, and I gotta say, by the end of it, I did get that vibe. It was welcome. I like how confident and assertive Sam feels in the role now. Even though of course we'll go through things throughout the movie, I'm sure, of like dealing with Steve's legacy. It even comes up in the trailer, right? But like he's assured in the fact that like, no, I'm not the same person. I'm not trying to be anymore. As mentioned in the comments, we get big moments from Isaiah Bradley. We get, obviously Giancarlo kind of is in it very little, but steals the show to me in a lot of ways throughout this trailer. And we'll get into theories of who he's playing here in a minute. And then of course the big Red Hulk of it all. And so there's just a lot to see here, but I came away pretty happy and encouraged, I will say. I'm kind of more cautiously optimistic with the MCU overall, I will say. That's kind of my macro feeling.
Yeah.
But pertaining to this trailer, I'm kind of happy. I like what I see here. So that's where I'm coming from. So Janelle, it doesn't feel like you got the same vibes.
I'm just so jaded when it comes to anything political.
Jaded.
I don't want to see president. I don't want to see Oval Offices. I don't want to see the American flag. Like, it's just a really weird time for like what's going on IRL, debates and so on and so forth, that I'm just kind of like, I like in Twitter, I saw a couple comments saying like, oh, an 80-something-year-old president, like at things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't really, I'm not very patriotic right now, really, honestly. That's really sad to say, but I'm really not. And I am I feel failed by our healthcare. I feel failed by our political system. Like I'm just really not, I'm an unhappy American at the moment. So I don't feel patriotic. And so seeing Cap is not helping me to escape kind of where I'm at. It's making me go, oh yay, the White House. Like I want to watch Doctor Strange go into a different dimension or something, because it's an escape. I I would love for Bucky to be in this as well, because like I'm more attached to like that relationship, like the Steve Rogers and Bucky relationship, and like where he stands since the loss of Chris Evans in that role. And I really did love their chemistry. I didn't like Falcon Winter Soldier, the show, but I loved the two of them together. Like I do love these two together. So it would be great if they maybe like secretly throw him in there, maybe in a scene or two. I would be really happy about that. But yeah, I think I've moved past kind of like these earthbound stories within the MCU, and that's just me. Like I'm kind of past like political, like no superpower stuff. I'm ready for escapism. So I like the timey-wimey stuff. I like the Lokis. I like the Moon Knights. Like things like that are a little bit more up my alley. And that's just a me problem. I understand that many people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm so glad that they're getting what they want. But my headspace is just not here right now. So this is not tickling my fancy other than our Red Hulk. The red, because I'm getting, something that is, not real. Like it's fantasy. Give me my Red Hulk. That is obviously what I'm most excited about. Also, I will say though, Sam's his garb is sick. Like those wings.
Yeah, it looks good.
Like I cannot complain with the look at all. It looks beautiful. He looks amazing. He looks powerful. Like he looks like Captain America. So this is not a bash on the new Cap because I fully support this. It's just the timing is a little like yikes for me right now.
So, number one, I want to give, Kofi mentioning Black Cap for the win. Yes. I will say just even from a, like I referenced before, like with Sam, like he feels like he is Captain America at this point. And we've kind of moved past the, am I enough to be in this or should I like that we've moved past that. And yes, he might have moments of doubt, but like he is Cap. And I like that he's walking like that. And he's like the aura he is giving off is very much Captain America. And it was great throughout this trailer. Also the suit got a major upgrade because it's less bulky. It looks beautiful. Sleek. It looks awesome. Yeah. And those wings hit. Oh, it looks sick. Yeah. So I love that we're doing that. But I also agree with you that, and this is a thing of making movies and just actually media in any case, whether we're talking about video games or shows, these things get made. These takes a long time to make, right? Yeah. So when some of this stuff was always going to be topical, right? I mean, anytime you're dealing with the government or the military or anything like that, those things never actually leave the news cycle. They never leave. It's different iterations and different circumstances, but those things never leave. So those are always going to be topical. But things like the presidency and specifically to like who is in the Oval Office, things like bringing in like Sabra, who is a character like, in the comics that's like tied to the Israeli Mossad, like those types of things, other decisions made with like, who the villains might be and things like that. Those things are more a matter of timing. They were always going to be topical in some way, but it's just, we talk about that with The Boys all the time. The Boys seems to have its like finger on the button of whatever is happening. Crazy. We foresaw it 6 months ago and we went, we're going to do it. And so this feels very much like that. So I get kind of people looking at this of like, oh man, this feels like, we're hitting all the check boxes, but this thing's been in development for at least 3 years, production 1.5, whatever because of the delays and stuff.
It was
delayed it got delayed. So like there is some of that. So I completely get you. For me, this is what I'm kind of missing from the MCU, and we've had grounded stories before, but I need like meat and potatoes stuff, and I also need some like grounding it here, and especially the whole thing of this really deals with the core idea of what is Captain America, where does he fit within the government, within society. He has been talked about as a symbol, but he has also at various times been like a legitimate arm of the government or military or work underneath the administration somehow. So he's and the Avengers have too as a concept, right? They've been government related. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they're considered outlaws. So that whole idea of where does Cap fit into our society is interesting to me. Like that's an interesting idea to mess with. And so here it's kind of like, hey, we want to try having the symbol be be connected to the military. And he's like, Sam is very much like, well, so what if that goes badly? And he's like, just whatever. So that is a fundamental idea to me is interesting. And then once you throw the Red Hulk of it and, who Giancarlo might be playing, which we'll actually get into that right now. Right. So there's no one knows who he's playing. Well, Marvel knows, but like no one outside of that knows. But the rumors are that he is playing GW Bridge, who is kind of another character that has been around a super long time in the Marvel comics, but like is still kind of like the MCU likes to do, hasn't necessarily been developed as much as other characters. He's been around a long time and he's been primarily connected to Cable and X-Force. He was in Shield though, so likely that'll be where the origins here stem from. And then he kind of leads his own team at one point. He's hunting for Cable for a big chunk of his career early on, so Cable's not around yet. I don't know how they're going to handle that or whatever, so that probably is out. But at various times in the comics, especially one kind of central arc, he was actually hunting the Punisher after Civil War. We know Punisher's back from Daredevil, right? So that would be an interesting link to at some point connect those dots and have him move over there. So it is interesting for him to be here as what seems like this mercenary who, again, is giving off very Winter Soldier vibes. He looks like a badass every time he's on screen. I'm very excited for that. You know, the other big one, obviously you're very excited for Hulk.
Oh yeah.
And that's, you know, I actually had to explain to Anissa when we first started watching the trailer. The trailer kind of assumes, it makes a joke, but it kind of assumes, you know, that it's being recast. But she didn't know. I actually had to like, hey, remember that is actually the same character as here, but number one, he doesn't have a mustache anymore. And number two, it's played by a different actor, right? And so once I explained that, she actually rewatched it again and was like, oh, I liked it better with that context. There's actually going to be some people. I mean, look, not everybody dives into the nitty gritty of the MCU and like knows every single character, especially if they've been a somewhat smaller player and are now being played by a new actor. I can't fault anyone for not, you know, knowing that. So I feel like there are going to be some people there. The Red Hulk of it all is interesting, especially if this version, like the comics, is an LMD, which is the life model decoy. You know, while Red Hulk could be over here doing all kinds of stuff. And that original story involved MODOK, involved the leader. You know, MODOK seems... I don't know if that's happening with what happened in Quantumania, but you know, yeah, but like involving the leader would be very much right in line with stuff. So there's a lot of story possibility there. So there's a lot to get from this, but overall I like the trailer. I like what we're going with it. I hope it nails the landing, but I'm in right now.
Yeah.
I'm very much in. Are you in?
Yeah. Oh, duh. It's Marvel. It's MCU. Of course I'm in. I'm just not as jazzed about this as I am like, you know, our Deadpool movie that's coming out. I will say, like, I don't think they gave away very much information on the plot, or even like I don't even know who the villain is. Like, really, I can't really tell from the trailer. And I like that. Like, I appreciate that they're not giving us everything at the jump so that we can slowly, you know, roll this out and enjoy the film. Because if I don't know, I feel like I've been watching so many trailers recently that sometimes spoil themselves, like spoil their own movies or like reveals and things. I'm actually looking forward to this more because I don't have as much information. I'm just seeing like really beautiful special effects. I'm seeing the suit. I'm seeing, you know, some good little glances and acting, you know, some nice exchanges, a little bit of fighting, but it's nothing like meat and potatoes, like you were saying. And that's good. I think that's a good thing. So I will say they did a good job with the trailer for sure.
So now, and this might be perfect because you mentioned, you know, you're not really looking for this style of thing in the MCU, but they did release another trailer earlier in the week. We got the much long awaited Agatha All Along trailer. So what did you feel about this? Because completely different vibe. These couldn't be more different.
Oh my God. Agatha All Along. This has been something that I have had zero idea where they were going with. Like, what is she doing? What happened to her after her Wanda, you know, I guess debacle? I don't even want. I mean, I had no idea. I didn't know if she died. I didn't know what was going on. So, this trailer is so intriguing to me because of how they set it up. Like she doesn't even know what's going on, what is going on with her, exactly like Wanda did, like in WandaVision. And there's so many like moments, so many calls to like her character in WandaVision, like the black and white with the curly hair or the 80s. Like I think they did a beautiful, beautiful job with this trailer. But I have to be a little negative. Do you feel like maybe they spoiled themselves? Like I've gotten a lot of context and information from this trailer. Like there is a lot going on, and all of those things that maybe you would go, oh my God, they referenced her in this one scene in WandaVision. Like they kind of spoiled that for us. So um I don't mind it, but I'm going to try to kind of forget what I saw before watching the show, because this is like it almost feels like, did you watch the show Once Upon a Time?
Yes.
It kind of feels a little like that. Like it feels like a storybook, like you're reading out of a storybook. And I love that. This is exactly what I was looking for. And the fact that it's coming out around spooky season is just chef's kiss. I didn't really know what to expect when they announced this. I loved, Catherine in this role, and I love Agatha, but I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't want to get my hopes up. This trailer has my hopes up like to the max. So hopefully, I mean, it looks scary, it looks fun, it's colorful and magical. I mean, this is everything to me. I'm way more excited about this personally. What about you?
Man, so I see Kofi in the comments here. The why, Agatha, why, that made me laugh. So here's the thing. We even talked about this when it was number one, when they finally decided on a title. This thing has changed titles more than anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when they finally decided on that, they were like, they kind of gave an impression of what the show would be about. And I think at the time, amongst us three, we had kind of a general, like, almost apathetic feel, because for me, my excitement for this show, and this has nothing to do with Catherine Hahn, amazing. The character, I really like a lot of stuff like she did with the character. WandaVision feels like it happened a decade ago. It didn't,
Oh, yeah.
but it feels like that.
It does.
And so when you're like, this is so late, it feels so late, like, I think if this had happened, I mean, look, I just feel like if this had happened earlier, and not even earlier, like before the MCU kind of entered the phase it's in now. And when I say phase, I don't mean the numbered phase. I mean the kind of trying to rejuvenate the MCU spot that we're in right now, where we're kind of looking at these new films to bring a breath of fresh air and bring some of the energy back that it had. And look, on the game, I get it. You get a show and you get a show, and like, yeah, very much like it felt like everyone at one point was getting a show, and this was a no-brainer. And it still is in some ways, but by the way, I will give them credit. I love that because at early time, I remember the show was being talked about, and it was talked about as a prequel. And it was like, oh, we're going to see like how she got here, whatever. And thank God they didn't do that. Because to me, that would have killed it right from the outset now. Like, there's no way I would have been at all. Like, I'm cool with you going back in time and doing, flashbacks and stuff. I want to see that. But like, to have a whole series set as a prequel and do it, I would have been like, that would have been dead on arrival for me. This, as we're moving her out of her haze, moving her forward, at least we're moving forward, and they can tie things into whatever Wanda's story is moving on. I just like, this feels late, too late. And the trailer's good. I like the trailer.
Yeah.
I was just having a hard time connecting and caring about this show. It's going to feel like this kind of, again, unless they really connect the stuff with Wanda and we get some real movement on that front. I mean, think about it. We still haven't seen White Vision yet. There's so many things WandaVision set up that like we haven't seen, other than Multiverse of Madness, which I was also mixed on. Like we haven't seen much from that. So it's just weird. It's a weird timing thing. So as of right now, I think the trailer's good.
Mhm.
And I get why people are excited for it. I also got to remember, you got to give context. I was not the biggest WandaVision person. Like, it's not my favorite thing the MCU's ever done. So
that's wild.
I know, yeah.
And that was like my number one.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot of people's number one.
It's my number
and
two
I
now
understand
since
it.
Loki, but
Yeah, Loki said.
But it's hard.
So I get it.
It's hard to compare seasons, or like shows with multiple seasons are hard to compare to shows without, like, in my opinion. So I obviously think this is going to be like a one-off, right? Like this isn't going to have like multiple seasons. So the way that I'm trying to look at it is maybe it's like kind of WandaVision season 2 sort of thing, you know,
or like 1.5.
yeah, like think of them as like a grouping together. Like for example, I'm gonna rewatch WandaVision before I watch this. Like,
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. Kofi made me laugh. Jarvis deserves a series too.
I mean, I would love a White Vision something. I would love season 2 of WandaVision. I mean, really, I feel kind of robbed of the Wanda from WandaVision that we got in Multiverse of Madness. Like, to me, those are two different people. Like, and so I would have liked the continuation of the show over her role with Doctor Strange. But that's just me. Now we're really deep diving.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move because, of course, look, hey, everyone knew Captain America would throw a wrench into plans.
Yes.
and it has. I had this whole thing planned out. And here we go. So we're going to cut some things.
We'll go through.
I just want to mention real quick. Did you watch the Umbrella Academy trailer?
My God, I love the Umbrella Academy. The trailer looks really interesting and juicy. Unfortunately, what happens with the show is a lot happens with the show in every season. So I have no idea how we got here. I cannot remember. It's one of those things where it's been a little too long. So I'm really looking forward to rewatching the last season, or at least watching a couple of YouTube videos of like previously on, because I cannot remember where we are and why we're here. But the trailer looks really funky and fun. It's timey-wimey. It's interdimensionally, and I love all that. So it looks great. And then these actors, I'm in love with each of these characters, truly. So
I do like the look. I mean, my biggest thing with the show is like, it always feels like we're doing the same thing every season. It's it's like we've never moved past it somehow. And they're billing this as like, this is our final chance to get it right. I'm like, oh my God, you've had 4 seasons. You've had 4 seasons to get this right.
That's actually quite funny, but yeah.
I will go back and rewatch the last one because I'm with you. It's been there's been too much stuff in between. I remember pieces, and that's really it. Another one I want to give a shout out is Gladiator II, and we will save this discussion when Kofi gets back because I'm pretty sure that he will have lots of thoughts on Gladiator II. But I did want to mention trailer is out. I will say when Denzel Washington was cast, I was like, oh, that's going to be interesting, and boy, is it! Straight like he steals about every scene he's in. So I'm very curious because I love the first Gladiator. It is to me that's like a classic. And when they announced they were doing a sequel or even just something in the same universe, I was like, I don't know. That's hard. So
I mean, the cast is fire. So
yeah, the cast is fantastic. It's gorgeous.
They're flooding the Coliseum with water. Like, sure.
So we're going to save our big discussion for this for next week, but I did want to give it a shout out because I do definitely want to get Kofi's thoughts on that. All right. So let's take a break and then we will move into the episodes of the week. We will move into one I'm very excited to talk about with Janelle. We will get her impressions on X-Men. We got lots of stuff. So stay tuned with us. Welcome back, everybody. Lots of TV, lots of geek TV to catch up on, but also things outside of geek TV. But one we definitely wanted to shine a spotlight on is your girl Janelle jumped on Acolyte Aftermath and did a full breakdown with Jamie and producer Peter. You guys did a fantastic job. You know, and I just covering it here, we are going to get into spoilers here of what happened. So FYI, in case you haven't seen the episode, but this was the one. This was the one. We were finally going to get some answers and figure out who started the fire. That's exactly what we got. And, you know, for me, I know Janelle went on a, you know, really kind of did a deep dive on this episode already, which you can check out on our Comic Book Nation YouTube channel, as well as on your preferred podcast platform, if you so choose. But here, just to touch on it real quick, what did you think of kind of that reveal? Did it deliver for you? We're about to be in the finale episode. So how do you feel how do you feel about the show now that we're almost there?
I want to say this. I really like this show. I enjoy it very much. I look forward to it every week. I like the characters. I think it's really beautiful, and it's interesting to me with the the witches, and understanding a little bit more of the political stuff with the Jedi, and all of that. But I understand why some folks don't like it. And that's totally okay, but I really enjoy it. I think it's very predictable. I think the show is predictable. Like they're like, "Oh, we're going to have this big reveal about who started the fire." And then it was who we thought started the fire is who they said started the fire, and she started the fire. Like there's no big surprise. The only surprise to me was that a stone building was burning down, just made of nothing but rock. But that's fine. But besides that, I really like it. I can forgive that. Like I can look past that, and everybody's
So
like,
funny.
"Well," and this is why I appreciate Star Wars fans. They're very diligent and thorough, and they're like, "Well, everything is wired in electronics, and the electronics are burning, which makes everything." And I'm like, "Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you." I'm just kind of giggling to myself when I think these things. It's not that serious. So, I listen. It makes me feel good to watch this show. That's what matters to me at this point in my life. I'm not caught up on lore. I'm not caught up on, oh, why isn't this guy acting exactly as a Jedi supposed to act? Is there hasn't been like really any deep reveals in my opinion, no shockers, no like, oh, wow moments, but I enjoy it and it makes me happy. And that's what I feel about the show. So, no shame. I like the show and I'm not very critical of it because I watch things like Doctor Who. And you have to have an imagination if you're going to watch the early seasons of Doctor Who. And you have to forgive storylines and things like that because I've watched old school Doctor Who and I can just use, I don't know. I'm very open to these things. I know that some
So,
people aren't, but that's okay.
no, but I look, I'm right there with you. Number one,
Yeah.
I got to shout out just as nerding because it's not very often you find a Peter Cetera reference. I love Chicago and Peter Cetera, and I'm going to shout it out every time I see it. That's amazing. And also that's a fantastic song. So number one, props. I'm going to always shout out
Yeah.
Peter Cetera. Number two, I'm with you in the fact, and we talk about this in wrestling all the time. I know I always bring it back to wrestling, but we talk about it with wrestling all the time, and that sometimes the more predictable result is still the best one. And
Yep.
sometimes the way a story needs to go is the best version of that, even if it doesn't surprise you or shock you at the very end, doesn't actually take away from the quality or the future of that storyline, just sometimes takes some of the buzz out of it, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes that's the case. Sometimes the biggest shocks turn out to be the worst decisions. They stick out for the wrong reasons. So I'm perfectly fine with a show that, because I agree with you. To this point, I haven't really been shocked by anything. Now what I will say is the turns and the twists have been well executed. Kamir's whole turning of revealing of this, that was done incredibly well. I will remember that episode of him just becoming like really stepping into that role and showing his true side for the first time and all that. That was awesome. So while the twist of it, the reveal of like, oh, he's the Sith, he's the evil guy, wasn't anything. I was like, yeah, duh, that's the guy it is. It was still done really well, and I still really enjoyed it. Same with this. There's nothing other than what I will say is the thing I find interesting about this is the whole Soul chose Osha, right? Like that whole thing and like the lie itself and how the lie was geared. That's interesting. But yeah, nothing was like a giant twist here that we didn't see coming. This whole episode, like again, we all talked about it not too long ago with like dedicating whole episodes to the past. And it does take you out of the pace of the show, especially right before finale. I always get a little like, why do we do that right before a finale? But timing and pacing could have been better. I tend to like things that are spread out over time. I like the methods where we get a bunch of flashbacks, but they're over time and we start to piece the puzzle together that way, as opposed to just one big, past exposition dump where it's like, hey, here's everything you need to know before we go into the last episode. So yeah, I agree with you, and I still love this show. I really enjoy the show a lot. I'm right there with you. It has flaws.
Yes.
And it's okay that it has flaws.
And I like
all right, let's get in
episode 2, and I still have faith that they'll be able to wrap this up.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. I was actually going to say, like, how are you feeling about the finale, like heading into that? I'm with you, actually. I agree wholeheartedly. I think they'll still nail it. Could it probably have been better if it had a 2-episode arc?
I think needed that. The other thing that I'm a little kind of like interested in is how much they banked on a season 2, because there is a lot. Lucy, you have some explaining to do. There's a lot of explaining to do in the last one episode. So I think that they're going to have a lot of like cliffhanger moments. I think it's going to be a lot of to be continued or on the next season of, or and I don't think this has been renewed yet for season 2. So I hope that they get it, because I feel like that's what they're banking on. It feels like they're banking on, we need more time to keep telling the story, and we'll see.
Yeah. I'm with you. I know we want to get to a bunch of shows really quick. Let's touch on oh my God. I now realize that I did not watch House of the Dragon. Did not watch it. I totally whiffed on that one. Okay, so that's my fault. My bad. Right. Janelle, did you? Yes. I know you watched it. What did you think of the episode?
This is my most anticipated weekly show. This episode made me sick to my stomach in a different way. I don't want to spoil, because Matt, this is too intense too, but let's just say that like we have a lot of dragon battle in this, and I look at dragons the way I look at dogs, and it's very difficult for me to see anyone dog fighting, like making dogs fight each other. It's hard for me to watch dragons fight each other. I don't like it. It's obviously part of the show, but there is a lot of tragedy in this one. We have loss in this one. It's so well done. It is, what I will say about the show, and especially this episode, is that your heart is racing. It gets you really going, and that is really good to feel something from a show like that. My heart was like pounding. I'm like, what's gonna happen? And obviously I'm going, it's Game of Thrones, the worst is gonna happen. But I think they did a brilliant job in this episode. I would say this is one of my favorite episodes, but also hard for me to watch because of the dragon stuff. I feel like we're getting a lot of strategy brought in. I'm kind of understanding all of these different moves that people are making. It's very Game of Thrones and the chess work and things like that. I think this was a great episode. I'm surprised at how good all of these episodes are. I just cannot believe how good they're getting. And if an episode makes me Google what happened in the books after next, I think that's a great sign, where I can't even stop thinking about it so much. I have to go, okay, wait, what happened here? Like, did this person actually die? Did this person win? Did that person lose? there's a lot of questions at the end of this episode that have to be answered. So luckily we're on our way to the weekend because I need to know what's happening in this next episode. I can't wait for you to watch it, Matt.
Well, you said dragons fighting, and that actually sounds super dope. So,
It's
so I'm probably gonna watch that.
It makes
I
me
know it will
so
be
sad.
I
hate
know,
it.
but when does this show not make me
These
sad?
poor
This show makes me
screeching-
sad every
they're
week.
in so much pain. I hate it. I can't. It's like animal cruelty. I just can't handle it. But
No, I get
they're-
it,
I have to
100%.
keep thinking in my mind they're not real. They're computer generated.
Well, you know, speaking of pain, let's get into the boys.
Yeah.
'cause,
oh God.
Okay, you want to talk about, and by the way, spoilers incoming for boys, because we can't not talk about, you know,
Mhm.
like the Deep alone. You just take what happens with the Deep in this episode.
Ugh.
Oh my God, I was wrecked. I was so wrecked. Just like and what I will say, we've been kind of, you know, dinging this show a little bit for trying to kind of find its focus. It's been a lot of different places, and now finally in the episode, you know, before the finale or whatever, we're finally like honing in on, okay, this is really about like this part anyway. This ending part is about trying to stop an assassination. Okay. we have a premise, we have a simple premise, and we have, you know, the mole that's within the seven and working together on that front, and then we have Homelander, you know, steadily just going more off his rocker. He was already off his rocker, but going more off his rocker and just showing how volatile he truly is to even his supporters and all that, right? So we're really like, that's really the core. And crazily enough, when there is a simple thing to latch onto, the show works, and it works really well. This was again, this had this had a great twist at the end for me. I thought that was really well done with the shapeshifter and like, oh my God, where's Starlight and all that stuff. Like that's really interesting, and how that just sets them back so much right before the finale. But again, that's the good kind of chaos. I like that. Homelander just being an absolute nut in this, and like poor, you know, we lost some people in this episode.
Yeah.
You know, but really the Deep and that whole thing, because that's his own. It's different with Homelander when Homelander does something really wreck, because like
you expect
it from the Deep too, but it's different. Like there's still some like level of humanity to the Deep. Yeah. So when he does it and just causes himself so much pain and unnecessarily, like I just, oh my God, man, him sitting outside the door, and you know, Tilda Swinton did such a fantastic job of like, you know, I love you. Like, this breaks my heart. But again, this was like the boys at its best. I was like, okay, we're clicking. It just sucks that we waited till the very end of the season to click like this. That to me is the biggest thing. But I don't know how you felt.
I mean, I think they've done a good job in this season. Obviously, like it's not as fire as some of the previous seasons because, you know, we didn't know the story. But I think the point is that we're understanding more about like when we have the moment where we go, okay, even if you kill Homelander, what he's doing with his son, you're going to have a second. You're just going to replace him with a new one. And how important it is that we kind of make sure that doesn't happen, and we've kind of lost sight of that. And then obviously, like, you know, the violence, can I just say I'm so glad that my mother-in-law was not visiting for this episode, the kink one, the BDSM stuff, because oh my gosh, it's one thing to have like attacking sheep and chickens, but to have the cellar, the tech lab or whatever, oh my gosh, thank God she wasn't here for that. Does anyone watch this with like their loved ones? Because it's so awkward. I can't imagine watching this with anyone but alone by myself. Like
Anissa bailed last season.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, so did Max.
I stopped. I stopped getting. We used to, when this started, we used to watch this together every single week. It was like our favorite show. And then after like Season 2,
Yeah.
she just was like, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
good. It's too much. It's
My
too much
husband
for
too.
me.
He's not
Yeah.
into it.
So
He's yeah.
so I watch this by myself now, and I watch
do
it like
I.
typically like Kofi talks about, like late at night after
Yeah.
Munchkin's gone to
I know.
bed. Everybody's in bed. I don't have to worry about like, you know, someone getting decapitated or split
I have
apart
to have
and she
some
walks
headphones
in or
in.
something.
Yeah, I don't want like my baby to hear the violence. Like I have headphones in so that he can't hear it. But yeah, it's this show is really intense, but you can't deny it. It's good. They do what they do to the extreme and so well. You
Yeah.
know?
No, I agree. All right, so let's move into our last bit of TV here, talking about people getting torn apart, but in a different way. This was emotionally. This is
I love
mentally.
that you texted me and you were like, "Hey, I'm thinking of covering this. Like, are you down?" And I was like, "I'm watching it right now." No, I'm just kidding. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, I forgot the Bachelorette was on."
We're talking The Bachelorette, brand new season. Jen Tran is the Bachelorette this year. Again, I love the ones where we pull from a previous season. I actually missed her season. So of where she was a contestant right on the show. So like I missed it. So I love the recaps at the beginning where it's like, let's get you up to speed. Here's her history and stuff. We're actually
her to be cast. I really did not expect her to be the Bachelorette. I was very surprised. To me, she was kind of like a forgotten character in her season of The Bachelor. I was not like I didn't dislike her. I just didn't really. She wasn't the one that I was like clinging on to. I could not be happier that she is a Bachelorette now, though. Like, I love what she represents. She's the first Asian American Bachelorette. She's stunning. She's a class act. She comes from a family of immigrants. I love what she's representing right now. And she's confident. She knows who she is. Like, I don't feel any discomfort, like, oh no, she's going to be one of those ones that doesn't really know what she wants. Like, I feel like she knows what she wants and I'm about it.
Yeah, I like her too. I came around not very long in to the episode, especially when they start, diving into like her family and her relationship with her mom and stuff. So once you like the Bachelorette or the Bachelor, that's half the battle. Then the premiere is always one of the best episodes of the season because it's the one that everyone goes over the top and stupid with their introductions because they want to stick around in your brain, which leads me to the notes I took for this, which I listed a keyword for almost every single person that introduced themselves as like the Bachelors this season, right? And me and Anissa watched this together. And I gotta say, like, I have some favorites. I also have one I already despise. And after seeing the extended preview, I'm like, everyone's jumping on.
The guy that got in the car and like stole the dude's car.
Okay, so I don't like the dude who's okay. So for context, one of the guys, which by the way, this is a terrible first impression. Don't do this. When the guy comes up, drives in a really nice car, which is cool. Yeah. That's fine. Then he throws the keys to Jesse Palmer as a valet. That dude's the host. And he just throws it to him, and not with like, I'm just kidding or a joke. And no, that's like, oh, hey, I get it, right? He then goes up and says like, oh, you might see a car like that and think I'm overcompensating, but trust me, I have a really, really, and then he goes into detail and actually says it and they bleep it out and you're like, are you kidding? What kind of first impression is that, dude? I
believe that though. I think because I've been on a reality show, I think that he said something else and they bleeped it to seem like he said manhood. And I don't know if I believe that he said it. Because she didn't get like upset. She just like laughed. Like I don't know. I don't trust it. You guys don't. I feel like he's
okay. Here's the thing. She didn't react badly, but she also very much reacted shocked. So I was not a push for me to go, oh, he might have said something like it. Because later on, she also reacts to someone else who actually says something really kind of crappy. There's the guy that talks about it's that truth or dare game.
Women. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, yeah, ghost him all the time. And her look is like, yeah, you don't say that either. This is a great lesson in what not to say. But okay, so here's the thing. I think this is a good field. And so before we move into our next thing, I definitely want to see, like, do you have like two favorites?
Yeah, the guy. So I'm terrible. I don't know their names. The dude that
I have them all here in case you
she
need.
gave the first impression rose to.
Janelle, no.
I loved him.
Oh, I
loved
hated him so much.
I loved him. I liked him a lot. And
What's
then
his name? Hold on. Sam.
Sam. Yeah.
Sam is his name.
Okay. Listen, I'm someone who I react off of like chemistry, and I feel like I didn't feel chemistry with her or anyone, like, at all. Like, I did not feel chemistry. No, not comparatively. Like, there are some where you're like, oh my God, like that, it's over. Like, they're crazy about each other already. I didn't feel that with anyone. I feel like she was really good with like her poker face, and she didn't want to like, jump into anything right away. She has this like slack, and I respect that. And then he is also Vietnamese, and his parents are also immigrants.
Thomas
Win is his last name. Yes.
Thomas. Yes. Thomas Win.
Last name. Love Thomas with a passion. He's so nice. Like I always fall for the nice guys though. I usually go for the.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's not a bad thing, right? And I agree with you. So Thomas is in my top. I actually had top 3 because I had like top 4.
Love
actually,
that.
I've top 2. Thomas isn't both actually. So my list is both Thomases because there's another Thomas that brought the puppies, and I really like him, but they haven't had much time to gel. But Thomas, the one you're talking about, I thought there was actually like good chemistry there that you can build on. And she seemed to really be comfortable around him. And then Dylan, I like, who is the doctor. He's the doctor guy that shows good. Anissa is Team Marcus. Now we're both kind of Team Marcus because we both like him, but she is like Team Marcus all the way, and also calls Marcus, who is the military guy that was the first guy up, as the next bachelor. If they don't work out, she already thinks.
I do love him. I do. I love his personality. I just didn't feel a connection between the two of them. Remember, I'm choosing based on not who I would like, but like who I think she likes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And and so that dude, the guy that you're Sam, I get bad guy vibes. I give vibes.
Wait,
I don't like it. I get fake vibes from him.
Wait, Sam isn't the one I like. Sam is the one with the like long hair and the goatee. No, I'm talking about the first impression rose guy.
Yeah, Sam.
I'm looking
That's
up.
Sam.
Are there 2 Sams?
Yes, Sam M and then Sam, who I forget his
Sam
other thing.
N, I'm not into. Never been to third base emotionally. The guy's like, I'm a love virgin.
Oh, is that Love Virgin? Oh God,
Yeah,
stop
like
happening. Yes, Kofi, this is happening. If we're talking Bachelorette. Yeah. That's right. We're talking. And by the way, we're about to move forward, but I just want to highlight something real quick. Please do not eat hot peppers when you are meeting someone.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not good to send yourself to the hospital with eating 2 habanero peppers.
Yeah, that was weird. That was really weird.
All right, so we're definitely going to be keeping up with this, right? Because there's lots of stuff here. Yes, we are going to be keeping up with this. All right, so another thing I wanted to get Janelle's interest in, because this week was also a big week in the world of comics because it was the kickoff of the next era of X-Men. And as you know, X-Men has been very intrinsic to this show since its beginning. And Janelle has been along for this roller coaster ride and has experienced the Krakoa era in X-Men, and now we're starting this new one. So I really wanted to get your impressions on this new start, and if it like grabs you because this whole era is really kind of touching on the X-Men 97. There's aspects of that in this new era. So you loved X-Men 97. How did you feel about this?
I'm intrigued. I do feel like I don't understand a little bit of context. Like I don't quite understand what these guys are. The like hooded, like I guess mutant.
Oh, the ex Orcus guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't really understand that entire side of what was going on because there's a couple different stories happening. Like I loved the Beast giving the tour in Alaska. I loved that whole thing, and I loved seeing some characters that I get really excited about. But I didn't even understand what they were doing, like looking for mutant adults that they think are children and they're fighting for some reason. I honestly didn't even know what was happening on that side of things. I could also just have been delirious because I'm up all night with a baby, but um I don't feel very clear on what is happening, but I am definitely intrigued enough to go, "Ooh, okay, like I kind of want to see what's next, like what's happening from here." There wasn't any standout moments for me that were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm on the, edge of my seat. I need to know what's happening." But I'm intrigued. I miss reading a lot of comics. So yes, if you would like to continue doing this, I will do this with you. But
Now, did you like the team?
I do. I actually really it's so funny. I know Juggernaut from playing the Marvel game on my phone where like you battle. Like that's how I know Juggernaut.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was really excited. I love magic. And I really do like the team. I actually like every single. Who is the gelatin looking dude who's pink with the eyeballs, the skeleton
Oh,
looking
Glob?
thing? I love him. Glob is so cool. Like, so yeah, there are definitely reasons to keep reading because I want to know more about these peeps for sure.
Well, we will definitely keep up with this. If you want a full 3-person deep dive into this, because we talk about this a lot, for X-Men #1, you can check out this week's episode of The Pull List. Me, Jamie, and Spencer jump in and give our 2 cents there. And we will also definitely get Kofi's when he comes back next week, because this is just the beginning. We're getting 2 other main new books plus a bunch of other new one-shots and other series coming in. So this is just the start, but I always want to get your input here because I value it on comics. So before we head out, it's Matt's agenda time. Dun, 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 dun. I need a jingle. Someone needs to can someone make me a jingle? Because all the beats I've ever tried to make sound like F-list Dr. Dre ripoffs. So if someone can make me a jingle, that'd be amazing. So Matt's agenda, and this is what happens when he goes on vacation. It's right. Which, by the way, we've really only deviated once. I would just like to put that out. It's just Bachelorette talk, which we probably wouldn't talk about anyway. But still, so for you fans of X-Men, there is plenty of new things happening on the gaming side. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was on the DC side of things, because hey, Comic-Con is coming up. DC has probably lots of big things in the works for that. But there is a DC game right now that you can back on Kickstarter, which is DC United. DC Superheroes United, which I have talked about in the past. I've talked about Marvel United and how much I love that game, especially for comic fans. There's so many characters you can get in this game. And now the DC universe is getting its own version from Simon and Spinmaster. I have had the pleasure of getting to play this game currently and put it through the motions. Me and Ember also played some stuff, right? Got to always test it out with the kiddo. And it's really cool because it has your main Justice League heroes, right? Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg. And it has your group and you're working together, but the way you're working together is really interesting because there's this big timeline that you'll see here. If you're watching on the video side, if not, I will include some images and links in our post that goes along with this, but it's really cool because you place a card and then the next player places a card and they can also use the abilities on yours, and you keep going in like this clockwise fashion. So like the things you can do every turn are always changing, but you're all working together. It actually makes you feel like a team in a much different way and in a clean and simple way, but much better than a lot of other kind of cooperative experiences of this ilk. And what's cool is like certain characters like Flash can actually turn their cards over once they're already in the timeline, and you can also build upon those. So you're always kind of building upon your power sets, even though some cards only have like one action on them. You can attack, you can save civilians, you can take down threats and villains, but you have to fulfill missions before you can actually attack the villain. So it forces you to work together kind of toward a common goal for those first two phases. And then everyone can kind of attack the villain and do it. So like, it's really interesting to see how they interpret heroes because you're only dealing with cards, right? So like Flash is really interesting because you're trying to, it kind of uses the Speed Force as this, it kind of makes the power more the Speed Force than just like him being able to move really fast. So like you can actually build upon the Speed Force once you lay out a bunch of cards. He actually, Flash, for as much as you might assume is like, oh, you just move somewhere really fast. He's like an easy character to get a hold of. He is, but he's actually really great for people who like to plan things out, because the further out you plan and where you place cards along the timeline, you can use those in subsequent turns and you can get like really amazing turns out of them. So again, he's about building up the Speed Force. I think that's a really inventive way to tackle the character.
Yeah.
Same way with Superman. Superman has to kind of choose between being this tank and also being someone who's really fast and do movement. Batman has like, I'm not kidding, like 9 equipment cards. Like he can do, his is all about his gadgets. You can affect so many things because he can use as many of them on a turn as he wants. They have to reset essentially, but like he's got so many options. Aquaman, they build on the whole being able to talk to other creatures and stuff. It's really cool. So for DC fans, especially who kind of love that geek stuff and also want a game that they can actually play with just about anybody, you can teach to just about anybody, regardless of their experience with board games. The United series is really good. And now that it has this DC theme with it and all the characters, I could not be happier. So I've really enjoyed the game. Also, the villains all play really differently. Like there's Lex Luthor, Darkseid, Joker, and Cheetah in the core set. And what's cool is like, it's not a straight up, oh, I'm just going to attack. Like Cheetah is very much like, I'm just going to attack somebody. You're just trying to get rid of the threat and attack them. But like Lex Luthor is actually his whole thing is he's trying to act like a good guy to the public, and he's still a bad guy. So he's actually helping you in a way of like saving civilians and defeating thugs. But if he completes that before you lose, because he's the bad guy. So like it changes the way you play the game completely. So Joker has his own little tracker. And so they really kind of try and make each villain feel unique and special. So in the past, these games have done big expansions. The campaign is live now. They do a bunch of stretch goals. We will see a ton of characters in this before it's out. So I heartily recommend it. We'll have a full write-up on Comic Book probably this weekend, but I have really enjoyed it. So there's that. Also wanted to plug, we will have a new Star Wars Unlimited video hitting CB Nation YouTube probably this week or maybe early next. Today is Star Wars Unlimited Shadows of the Galaxy release day. Yay! So for people who have been following that game, I know me and Peter have immensely. The big release is out today. You can go grab new cards and all that stuff. And I would heartily recommend that video as well whenever that hits, and I'll let everybody know. The last one I want to shout out before we get out of here is Courtesans. So this game is from Pandasaurus and is essentially like, it's a full card game. It's just cards. And it has like the Queen's Table, which is, it's gorgeous. Like the artwork on these are stunning. And as you, for the video watchers here, you can actually see there's a table that you roll out in the middle of the board, and that allows you to put cards below it, above it, and then you can also put cards in your other player. This is a 1v1 game, so you can put cards in your other person's area or yours, and you get 3 cards. You get to do 3 things on your turn, and they're all different as far as their suits and colors, but there's also ones with the masks, which are spies. There's also assassins, and there's also defenders, which are shields. It's all just cards, but the amount of strategy that is in this game as it flows out, because essentially what you're trying to do is score more points than the other person. That's it. At the end of this, that's all you're trying to do. But when you put someone above the Queen's Table, it essentially makes them esteemed. So they will score points at the end of the game if there are cards left there. More cards than the ones below the table. And so if you put ones below the table, that means that they will deduct points from you at the end of the game. And so you only have 3 cards to play, and you have to play all 3 on your turn. So it's this kind of picking the best. It's sometimes it's like a worst case scenario or the best case scenario. You have 3 great things, but you have to play them all during that turn. So you just have to choose what's best for the current situation. And you're also trying to screw over the other player, because if you see they have a bunch of green cards, that means like, oh, they'll score a bunch of points if the green is above the queen's table. So then you'll put some below to try and counterbalance that and to try and take away points at the end of the game. It's a really simple premise. And it plays like the artwork is beautiful. It's stunning to look at. It's super easy to set up. Takes 5 minutes to set up. And it's like, we ended up playing this over and over again because of just how, like, once you get the hang of it, it takes one playthrough to really get the hang of what you're doing. But once that's locked in, I could have played this for 2 more hours. And what's great is it plays in like 20 minutes, maybe 15, depending on how quickly you play. It's a super quick play. It's gorgeous. It comes in a tiny box that everything fits back in. And it's really like reward strategy, but it's different every time. Could not recommend that more. It just looks great. And it's out in stores now. This one's not crowdfunding. So heartily recommend that as well. Also, evidently, heartily recommend is my term of the day. I think I've used it 3 times in the last 20 minutes. So sorry about that. My bad. So that is the last one there for your Matt's Agenda segment. Before we head out, Janelle, anything you wanted to shout out or mention before we get out of here?
I feel like we've already done my entire agenda because we had Agatha, we had House of Dragon, we had Bachelorette. Like,
It's true.
Yeah, I feel great.
This was Matt and Janelle's agenda, or Janelle and
Thank
Matt's
you.
agenda. There we go.
Yes,
this was
I love it.
we'll rebrand the segment. There he goes. Of course, you can check out all of our other coverage. We have you covered on pretty much every aspect of geek culture. We have, as we said, the Acolyte Aftermath. You can watch that for a full deep dive on that episode. You can also check out Anime Initiative on Tuesdays. You can check out Quick Save on Thursdays. We have, of course, the Pull List, where we dive into comics on Wednesdays. Then, of course, the main show here, A Wild Pokemon Has Appeared, is every Monday. Phase Zero has you covered on Marvel things on Wednesday. And then, of course, we've also been doing bonus episodes of House of the Dragon as well. So you can catch those on your audio feeds or on See the Nation YouTube page. You haven't? Oh,
on that.
You got to make that happen. We got to make that happen. So we've got you covered everywhere. You can check us out on your preferred audio platform or on Comic Book Nation's YouTube channel. So until next week, and by the way, we're going to be having to do a San Diego Comic-Con preview pretty soon here. So we'll do that when Kofi jumps back into the mix here. We will see you next time. Have a great weekend. Watch some stuff and enjoy. Peace.